Hi, welcome to Nippy Invests. I didn't want to do another video on AVA risk group so soon after my previous one from last week, but what's happening with AVA risk group is just blowing my mind. Well, not literally, but you should never fall in love with a stock or a company because when you fall in love, you do or you tend to do irrational things. You can't think rationally, and you might do things like buy more or not sell when you might or should sell. So I try to leave those emotions out of my investing decisions, but I'm as close to being in love with AVA Risk Group as you can. It has become a four-bagger for me in the last 3 months, so four-bagger is quite significant. And at the moment, I'm not even thinking of selling it. I think it can run quite a bit more because what they're doing, what this company is doing, how they're growing is quite fantastic. So why am I excited? Before I get into why am I excited, let's just see what's been happening the last few days with the share price. So yesterday, for those who haven't been following, they did put out a bit of an update for the first quarter of this financial year. And as you can see by the share price increase, that quarter or that update was quite positive. So the share price increased by 26.7%. And today, I think the market, the rest of the market who haven't cottoned on to what's been happening, saw the announcement, and we saw another 13% increase today. So really significant increase over the last 2 days. And in fact, my AVA risk group percentage of my portfolios are going up by quite a bit. So I did a video last week, and there's a beautiful chart. This is a beautiful chart. So this is not current, this chart here. And that's when I did the initial video, September 3rd, and since then just kept on going up. But I did I showed all the announcements. There was no announcements that could justify that increase in price. It was just multiple expansion. People were willing to pay more because this company was exciting them. And when it excites them and they think there's future growth in the company, they're willing to pay a little bit more. And that's what's been happening with AVA Risk Group over the past few months. The market, investors are willing to pay more because they think the outlook for AVA Risk Group is quite exciting. I can't disagree with them. But yesterday at 10:37 a.m., the 19th of October, they gave out their quarterly revenue report, or quarterly report, and we did see them come out with $17 million in revenue and $7.7 million in EBITDA. And you can see that right at the bottom there, the amount of growth in all those. So 73% in growth in sales revenue compared to last year. EBITDA has grown by 522%, and cash has grown by 50%. So they're really pumping out the cash. So that really has got the market excited. And even there's different divisions, they're growing quite well. And this is in spite of some COVID-19 related hamperings to their businesses. So all in spite of that, so fairly exciting. So this is another little bit I did in my previous video. So I've just mentioned powerful, positive sentiment is very powerful, especially when you've got, in this case, you've got an announcement, or like a financial announcement or a fundamental announcement that sort of underpins the share price growth. And it just adds to that positive sentiment. So you could have multiple expansion, and then if you get that fundamental expansion or business expansion that underpins that multiple expansion you've had, it really justifies the market that this company is growing. So it's definitely undervalued. When I first did the first video, September 3rd, I mentioned it might be around good value now, but I think with this update we've seen it enter. Well, it did enter maybe undervalued territory. Now it's getting, because it's increased by a fair bit, it's probably getting to the point where it's fairly valued. But in a company that's growing like this, you always find it's going to be overvalued because the share price or the financials is always trying to catch up to the share price. So it was my second largest holding in my portfolio. It might have become the largest holding in my portfolio now. I mentioned also let your winners run. So I have no thoughts about selling this. I actually did go to Hot Copper forums, and I just went through the AVA risk group, and I noticed there was one post. Someone mentioned they sold out because they thought the share price was going to drop into the 30s, and they'll buy back in when it gets to the 30s. And this is why that's a dangerous strategy, because you can get just an announcement like today or yesterday, and the share price can take off again. So I don't like doing that sort of thing, trying to guess where the share price might go in the short term. And I think you can outsmart yourself, and that poster definitely outsmarted themselves. So my previous video was all about multiple expansion. That's why we're getting the increase in share price. The market was getting more excited, and they were expecting good financial growth. But now we've got that business expansion, that financial expansion, sort of justifying the multiple expansions we had in the last few months. So now we might get some more multiple expansions because the market is expecting the half-year report we're going to get in February will be quite positive, and that's what their expectations will be. And again, if AVA Risk Group doesn't meet those expectations, that's when we'll see a price decrease, or they might come out another announcement saying profits have actually gone up more than they expected, and that will lead to share price increase. So it's all a intricate web of expectations, sentiment, everything. That's why investing is so wonderful. So this is the chart. So very beautiful chart. This is only 3 months. I'm going back. So this is like beautiful uptrend. You can't deny this is an uptrend. It's gone from bottom left to top right. And the last 2 days, you can see it's gone through the roof. So it got to 50 cents when I did the last video, I believe. Then it dropped back to 44 or 43 cents. So I was thinking 44, 45 cents would be probably the price it might come back to. That would have been a good price to buy. And it actually turned out it was a good price to buy, because as soon as it hit that moving average at around 42, 43, it just bounced up with this announcement. It was just worked out perfectly. So in this case, I would like to see the share price not continue rising. It'd be very healthy if we see a share price come back a bit and then level off, maybe form a base, and then just watch those moving averages catch up to it, and then we can see it take off again. That's what I would like perfectly, because it's less stress for most holders, and because it leads to less stress for shareholders, they're less likely to make irrational decisions like selling out when they should be selling out, and that could put undue pressure on the share price, especially if we get a vertical, like an exponential rise in share prices. That leads to shareholders, long-term shareholders, more likely making irrational decisions like selling out too soon, which puts the share price under pressure. So that's all for AVA Group or Risk Group. This was $1 or so or higher about 5-6 years ago. So this is a turnaround story. They don't happen much. In fact, Warren Buffett said turnaround stories usually don't turn. So this is a turnaround story. It went from $1 to I think as low as 8 cents, and now it's starting to go back up towards that $1 mark. And I hope there's some long-term holders who didn't buy at the high at $1 and then sell at 8 cents at the low. That's not how you invest. Look, I'm not a professional advisor, so if you have any questions or any need for professional advice, make sure you seek out a professional. Otherwise, I'm just doing this for educational purposes, or what's the other thing? Educational, or for amusement, for your amusement, for you to laugh at me, that sort of thing. Hope you, maybe not laughing, but maybe you're learning something. Otherwise, that's all for today, and have a good day. Hope you've enjoyed this video on AVA Risk Group. I hope I don't have to do another one in the next week, or maybe that's saying it wrong, because if I do another one next week, maybe that's more positive news. But anyway, see you later.